My family skipped the biggest moment of my life. No call, no message, not even a polite excuse. Just silence loud enough to rattle something deep in me. So when the news broke about my valuation, when my name started circling online, I wasn't expecting anything. But then my phone lit up with a text from my father, short and scripted like a summons family dinner at 7 p.m. Important discussion. I stared at that glowing screen and felt something shift. Not hope, not fear, something colder, because I knew this wasn't reconciliation. It was the beginning of their reckoning. I was still in my office when that message came through the city, glowing behind the glass like someone had draped a constellation across the skyline. Papers were stacked on my desk. Plans, projections, contracts. But for once, none of it felt heavy. It had been a long road to get here. Years of late nights, borrowed desk space, and mornings where I'd woken up with the imprint of my laptop keyboard on my cheek. And now my company's valuation had made the news. People were talking, investors were calling, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like the world finally saw me. But my family? They had always seen something else. My father, Gregory, loved to remind me that real business involved bricks and land, not little digital toys. My mother, Helena, preferred to pretend that my work was just a phase I'd eventually outgrow. Marcus talked down to me like he was sharing wisdom from a mountaintop he'd never climbed. And Dylan, well, Dylan mostly filmed himself and waited for the universe to reward him for existing. So when that text came, family dinner at 7 p.m., important discussion, I knew it wasn't about me. Not really. It never had been. Still, something in me hesitated. A small, fragile piece that remembered being 21, standing in a cramped college dorm room, clutching a half-read textbook while waiting for a good luck call that never came. A piece that remembered the night I slept in my car because rent was due and my parents said, struggle would build character. A piece that even now, after all the headlines and handshakes, still wondered if showing up just one more time might finally change the story. But hope can be a dangerous habit. I closed my laptop and grabbed my jacket, the simple one I wore to family events, because blending in was easier than explaining myself. The luxury SUV stayed parked in the garage untouched. Instead, I took the old sedan with the worn steering wheel and the stubborn seat, the one my family recognized. Appearing humble kept them predictable. Predictable people make mistakes. On the drive to the country club, memories kept resurfacing, each one a quiet reminder of where I stood in this family hierarchy. The missed graduations, the half-hearted holidays, the way their attention always drifted toward whoever shined brightest for them in that moment, and the way I'd learned over time to shrink myself so their disappointment wouldn't feel so large. But tonight felt different. Tonight, I wasn't walking in hoping to be seen. I was walking in knowing exactly what they were. The country club sat on a small hill at the edge of the city, lit up like it was trying too hard to prove something. I pulled in behind a row of pristine cars, sleek models in colors that looked expensive, even in the dark. My sedan groaned as I shut the door, and for a moment I let my hand rest on the roof, grounding myself. This place had always felt like neutral territory, but not tonight. Tonight, it felt like a stage built for a performance I already knew the script to. Inside, the marble floor echoed every step. The air smelled like citrus polish and old money, a scent I recognized from childhood events where I'd hovered at the edge of conversations I wasn't invited into. A young valet nodded at me, then glanced over my shoulder as if expecting someone more important to appear. I kept walking. As I approached the private dining room, I heard their voices before I saw their faces, laughter that rose too quickly, too rehearsed, to the kind that fills silence rather than joy. When I opened the door, they all glanced up at once, caught mid-performance. My father stood first, smiled, two wide arms open like I'd just returned from war. Rose, finally. My mother followed, kissing my cheek and immediately pulling back with a furrowed brow. You look tired. Are you eating enough? Marcus smirked from his seat, swirling a glass of wine, and Dylan barely lifted his eyes from his phone. I sat down one chair, separated from the rest, as if they planned it. Maybe they had. The conversation began with the usual family small talk, thin surface level so polished it felt like being stabbed with a butter knife. They asked about my little company, my busy schedule, all with tones that suggested they were humoring me. I nodded, answered politely, let them play out whatever version of themselves they thought would soften me. Then Marcus leaned back, eyes narrowing. So your name made the news today, he said. His voice carried a hint of admiration, but mostly calculation. My father chimed in. Yes, quite the attention grabber. Must be exciting. He said exciting the same way someone else might say inconvenient. And that's when it happened, the subtle shift in the air, the moment the performance slipped. My mother exchanged a glance with Gregory, and Victor cleared his throat the way he did before launching into a pitch. Felt it instantly, that tightening under the ribs. The instinct honed over years of walking into traps I didn't know were traps until they snapped shut. My father leaned forward, fingers pressed together. We actually wanted to discuss something important with you tonight. Rose, there it was, the real reason I'd been summoned, the beginning of the unraveling. My father didn't waste time. The moment those words left his mouth, something important, the room shifted, the warmth drained out of the lights. The chatter went silent, and every face turned toward me with the same quiet hunger. I'd seen that look before. Not on my family, but on investors who came to take, not build. Victor cleared his throat like he was beginning a seminar. As you know, he started smoothing the front of his jacket. The motel group has been weathering some challenges. His voice wrapped the word challenges in silk, as if saying it prettier might make it less catastrophic. Gregory jumped in before I could respond. We're on the brink of something big, he said. A full transformation of the flagship property, spa upgraded suites, a proper event space, the works. I blinked slowly. The flagship property was practically held together with duct tape and nostalgia. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on the table, confidence oozing. This could be legacy defining Rose. The kind of long-term asset digital thing just can't match digital thing. Cute. My mother reached over, placing a hand on my arm with soft, trembling fingers. Honey, this is an opportunity to be part of the family's future, to give back. We carried you for so long. It feels right, right? Of course she'd say that. All their eyes were on me now, waiting for the version of Rose they'd always known, the quiet one. The accommodating one, the daughter desperate to be included. Gregory leaned in voice, dropping to its business tone. We need a bridge loan, just $1.5 million. You've got access to credit new connections. The status. He said status like it was a faucet I could turn on for them whenever they wanted. We'll pay you back with interest, Victor added quickly once construction financing hits. This is a chance to buy into the family's empire. I almost laughed, but I didn't. I stayed still, observing the sheen of sweat forming on my father's forehead. Victor's restless hand on his glass, Marcus's too bright smile. Dylan finally looking up from his phone, attempting a supportive nod he hadn't earned. There was a time I would have folded under all this, a time when my family's approval felt like oxygen, a time when I mistook their neediness for love. But I wasn't starving anymore, and I wasn't theirs to feed on. I placed my napkin on the table, smoothing the fabric with deliberate care. So I said, my voice steady. You skipped the biggest moment of my life. But you're here for this. No one spoke. The silence pressed against my skin like heat. My father's jaw tightened. Don't be dramatic, This is about family. Family. The word landed like a stone. I met his eyes, calm, unflinching. I didn't come here to rescue an empire you already burned down. My mother gasped up. Victor stiffened. Marcus's smile cracked. And somewhere deep inside me, something locked into place, a quiet, uncheckable clarity. They thought they were cornering me, but really, they'd just opened the door I needed. The room didn't breathe after my last sentence for a moment. It felt like the air itself froze, like even the air conditioning knew better than to interrupt what was coming. Gregory leaned back slowly, the fake warmth draining from his expression. "So that's your stance," he said. "You're really going to sit here and lecture us about sacrifice, about commitment?" Marcus scoffed, shaking his head. "She gets a little attention online and suddenly thinks she's above the family dot my mother dubbed her. Eyes with a napkin that didn't need to be used. We're trying to include you, Rose. Don't twist it into something ugly, something ugly." If only they could see themselves clearly. Victor folded his hands, adopting the patient, patronizing tone he used with nervous clients. "Let's not escalate things. Look, Rose, 1.5 million is pocket change compared to what your valuation suggests. This is a strategic move for all of us, for all of us," I repeated, letting the words roll slowly off my tongue, tasting them for the lie they were. "Tell me, Victor, when exactly did you consider what was good for me? Was it the year I asked Dad for help with a first rental lease? Or when I applied for my first accelerator and you called it a hobby dressed up as ambition?" He stiffened. "I was trying to guide you, Dot. No," I said, voice soft but razor sharp. "You were trying to keep me in the box you built for me, but I stopped fitting a long time ago." Gregory's fist tightened around to the stem of his wine glass. "We didn't come here to dig up old grievances," he said. "We came here to build something real, something lasting." "Something lasting," I echoed, Dot, "like the motel roofs that keep leaking. Or the broken heating system at the downtown property, or the mounting maintenance bills you haven't paid for months." Silence cracked through the room. My mother's face went pale. Marcus straightened in his chair. Victor's eyes narrowed. Gregory blinked. Dot, "How would you know I finished for him?" "I pay attention. I always have." "You just never paid attention to me." Dylan, surprisingly quiet until now, finally set his phone down. "Rose, what are you saying?" I looked at him, back to all of them. "That you're not looking for an investor, you're looking for a lifeline." Victor's polite mask slipped. "That's an outrageous insinuation." I reached for my bag, calm and methodical, like someone unwrapping a truth they'd rehearsed exposing. "I came tonight because I wanted to hear what story you were going to tell. And you didn't disappoint. Same script, same guilt, same entitlement." Marcus leaned forward. "Stop being dramatic. If Dad says the properties are fine, they're fine, are they?" I asked. I placed a folder on the table. Plain, unmarked, heavy. "I showed up with the one thing you never expected," I said quietly. "The truth." Gregory's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" But before I could answer, the door opened. Ava stepped inside. She always carried herself with quiet precision pressed, blazer steady posture eyes that missed nothing. But tonight, there was something sharper in her presence, purpose. She walked directly to me, ignoring the stunned faces around the table. "Everything has been finalized," she said. "The transfer is complete." My father stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. Transfer. Transfer of what? Ava placed a stack of documents in front of me. I slid them toward him. "Your motel group," I said. "Your debt. Your outstanding payments. Your property obligations. All of it." Victor's voice cracked. "That's impossible. The bank hasn't." "The bank sold the debt," Ava cut in her tone even. "Last week. To a private investment entity?" Gregory's face crumpled in confusion. "What entity?" I met his eyes. Mine. The room ruptured, not with sound, but with the absence of it. "An implosion." My father's mouth opened and closed like his brain couldn't form the words fast enough. Marcus pushed his chair back, shaking his head. Dylan whispered something under his breath that sounded like a prayer or a curse. My mother finally spoke. Rose, what have you done? What you forced me to, I replied. You wanted me to invest in an empire, but there is no empire. There is only debt. Debt so deep, no responsible lender would touch you. Victor grabbed a document and scanned it. His face drained as the numbers stared back at him. Months of overdue bills, contractor complaints, local compliance issues, maintenance records neglected to the point of hazard. This can't be right, he whispered. This isn't salvageable. It is, I corrected gently. Just not by you. Gregory finally found his voice thick with rage. You think you can humiliate me like this? In front of my family. You think because you made some money, you can play God? I leaned forward. I'm not playing anything. I'm cleaning up what you broke. And I'm done financing the illusion that you're still in control. Marcus exploded. You blindsided us. You should have told us. Told you what I asked, that I wasn't going to write you a blank check, that I wasn't going to be your bailout plan in heels. My mother tried again, tears finally spilling. Rose, please. This is our life. Our home. And it will continue, I said softly, but not under your management. Ava slid one more envelope across the table. My bailout offer, $200,000, clean, rounded. Enough for them to start over. More than the equity was worth, more than they deserved. Gregory stared at it like it was a trap. I'm not taking your pity money. It's not pity, I said. It's severance. He slammed his hand on the table. You are no daughter of mine. For the first time in my life, those words didn't land like a wound. They landed like release. I stood smoothing my jacket. You're right, I said. I'm not the daughter you wanted. I'm the daughter you made. Marcus demanded explanations. Victor muttered about legal challenges. Dylan swore softly under his breath. But my father just stared at the documents, his world shrinking as he realized this wasn't a negotiation. I stepped back, letting the noise swirl around me. They were unraveling, grasping, blaming, shouting exactly as I knew they would. Ava opened the door for me. Before leaving, I looked at them one last time, not with anger, not with triumph, not with certainty. I didn't come here to save your empire, I said. I came to end my part in it. And then I walked out into the cool night air, leaving their chaos behind. The night air hit me like a reset button. Cool, steady, honest. Behind me, the muffled chaos, continued voices overlapping in panic and blame. But out here, everything felt quiet. Clean, real. Ava walked beside me toward the parking lot, her heels clicking a calm, steady rhythm against the pavement. You sure you're okay? She asked. Her voice wasn't worried, just present. Solid. I nodded. For the first time in years, the answer wasn't a performance. I'm more than okay, I said. I finally stopped hoping they'd become people they never were. My old sedan sat in the corner of the lot, but tonight I didn't need the disguise. Ava handed me the keys to my SUV's sleek, dark mime. You don't have to hide anymore, she said. I unlocked the door and something heavy slipped off my shoulders. Some mix of expectation, guilt, and habit that had weighed me down for a decade. I sat behind the wheel, taking in the silence. No missed calls. No demands. No guilt-laced bargaining. My phone buzzed once my mother's number. I watched it light up, flicker, then fade. I didn't answer, didn't even hesitate. I blocked it, letting the number vanish the same way their version of me finally had. As I pulled onto the main road, the city stretched ahead, lights blinking like tiny invitations to a life I hadn't allowed myself to imagine, not one built around rescuing people who never intended to show up for me. For the first time in my adult life, the future didn't look intimidating. It looked open, and I was free to walk into it without asking anyone's permission. They always told me family was forever, but sometimes forever is just the length of time you allow people to hurt you. Walking away from that country club, I realized something simple and sharp: love isn't measured by blood. It's measured by how people show up for you. And mine only showed up when they smelled opportunity. So if you've ever had to choose yourself over people who kept taking from you, no. This, you're not selfish. You're surviving. If this story hit something in you, tell me where you're watching from. Share your own experience and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.